Hello and welcome. My name is Preston and I'm here sponsored by Zellen Paint to tell you a little bit about abstract painting, or my method of abstract painting. In my past lessons I've literally given illustrative view of an artist at work so you get to see how it's done. But today I'd rather not paint as an exhibition, but rather talk to you just about abstract art in general. I've been painting for about 35 years and I've tried abstract art on 2 or 3 occasions before this, and I failed horribly. And on looking back at this, I think that it was purely because I never had a hero at that time. So many years later, about 7 years ago, I found myself a hero in abstract art and started painting in the vogue of Jonas Gerard. Now Jonas paints in a very floaty kind of manner. His colours are almost Kandinsky-esque, but they do float and they integrate beautifully, and he gets what I call happening art, a process that requires you to step almost out of yourself, give yourself up and let Zen paint the painting for you. I went through a few years of this type of thing and probably did a good replica of Jonas Gerard. But that wasn't the point. I still wasn't on my mark when I painted. I wasn't being myself. I was being possibly what I saw Jonas Gerard's history to have been. So I decided to get rid of the hero's impressions out of my brain and just concentrate on letting me flow through. And that helped quite a lot in getting my own abstract style. We'll be going through a few paintings later in the program just to show you my development as an artist, because it's important that we understand that art is periodic. It has a blue period like Picasso, then we change, and when our art changes it's usually hopefully for the better, but when it changes we go into a new period of time. The older we get and the more experience we get, the more we change, because we have a greater vocabulary. Now, speaking about vocabulary, it's almost like having, how many tricks have you got in your box? And we call these techniques in art. To gain control of the effect that you're creating on the canvas, you need to understand the effect of every technique. What this does, what that does, what these do, the hands, what the brushes do, what movement they all achieve, and what effect they achieve. And you can never stop learning, because just the other day I spoke to a motor mechanic, an airspray guy, takes out dents in motor cars, and he said, you know, you want to do a moon, just put some paint down, take a piece of plastic, put it on, and pop it off, and it'll suck the paint up into a beautiful moonscape in 5 seconds. So this is a kind of technique or little trick that we get, a bow and arrow in our quiver, that we get to build up the confidence to express ourselves the way we think it should be done. If you're going to go into happening art, which is not what I'm doing, but if you go into happening art or expression, action painting, where you're actually just throwing the paint, you need to be of a certain temperament as a human being. You need to be one of those damn it all people. Whereas when you're painting with a knowledge of what you're doing, and this is something I've developed towards, I never did believe in it for many years, but I seem to believe in it now. That your style comes out of knowing what the results are going to be. So you're not just in the past just saying, oopsie, a mistake. Now I actually look firstly at the composition of the painting. Now there are standards when one looks at a piece of white paper. There are constructional methods that help you not be boring by putting your subject in the center, for instance. If you want to look up at something, it's up there. Down there you look at your point of view, right? So when you've got your point of view right on your piece of white paper, you've got to give yourself places to paint. You've got to allocate spaces to paint. So if you always want balance and continuity through your painting, it's best to use as few background colors as possible, maybe 3. And then you say, okay, this is going to be blue there, and that's going to be yellow, and that's going to be green, and then you sort of integrate them a bit. So they all just blend into this wonderful background. You have had no control over it. I use a long spatula, and just, this one isn't using that technique, but when I use that technique, I'll show it to you later, it comes out as a speckly thing. So, okay, if we've come along the road and we're now an established artist painting, how do we know what we're doing is the right stuff? You might be happy, but it's not selling or anything like that. Well, that's a question that it's the eternal question that everybody, every artist asks themselves. And there is really no answer to that. Some people were discovered later. Always remember that Van Gogh only sold 1 painting in his lifespan, and that was to his brother. So we need a bit of goodwill along the way, and we need, for this type of painting, which is more knowledge-based, in other words, I think, therefore I put down, therefore I adjust. It needs a different personality. It needs a quieter person with patience, with knowledge and confidence and no fear. So those are the sort of basic things that, because you're doing things that have got to be right. If you mess them up, you make them right. If they're wrong, make them right. Everything is just a correcting process until your eye says, hey, that's nice. Now I follow that area, that's nice, I'll put it into here as well, so that the picture in its little honeycomb segments of composition are now starting to come together. And once the technique harmonizes across the canvas, I think you've succeeded as an artist, because that's what beauty is. We need beauty to look at, as in color will do it, as in flowers, but we also need a passion to come out, other than just happiness and stuff like that. So sometimes it's a little shocking, other times it's not. It's diffused and interesting. So we inject as many different visuals as we can to make it interesting, so the eye can actually go to various points of the painting and say, oh, that's interesting there, or that piece there. You can do a complicated composition, like, let's just take one. Take this one, for instance, where I did have pinks coming in and blues coming in, and so I knew where my colour was going to be, and this took, how can I say, I think a couple of hours. But keeping it simple, keeping the space open, letting the symbols talk for themselves. And here, even in this painting, what was interesting, I used a sponge with a light mauve to dampen this area, to give that dynamic, to make it work. I've dampened that area, I've pushed it back. Very subtle, but it's just a wash over the blue as well. The blue was rather strong. So, and don't use too many colours in your compositions. You can, and there's no rules, but colours are hard to control. So when you start a painting, you would start by choosing what colours you want. So I always choose a colour. So I'll start with this green, or this blue underneath it. I'll say what goes, oh, pink goes nicely with blue, that always works, so I put pink in the painting. Then I think, okay, now what goes with the blue that'll keep it in that aqua tone, and that's my green. So I then splodged some green on, probably with a sponge or something, with a sponge. This is sponge technique. This is roller technique, which is a sponge roller, a healthy amount of paint, and just give it a while. This is a fork, a little comb. This is straight out the bottle. This is brush work, that's a brush spray, and this is a long builder's tool with lots of little serrations that I just push across. Nice big tool so you can do big paintings. So we're going to start techniques. You get splattering with following through on the splatter and follow through, splatter and follow through. So here, this is not just all a throw, this is a throw with a controlled manipulation off. Techniques you're going to build up yourself. It's up to you to know what your eye wants. See, I likes a little Scottish herringbone or whatever they call it. Get a tool that does that. I often use the sponge and push designs in on the sponge. So when I apply it, it already gives me some movement. Because nothing can be flat, you can't just have colour going. This edge control is very important in painting. If you want it to be rigid and hard, you put a black line on my, it bounces. But if you just want it to mutate softly, and generally speaking, there are soft, beautiful away areas and there are hard, precise areas. In your composition itself, you can't not have strength. If everything is just washy, you're going to get basically just an ink wash on paper in suspension or something like that. But if you need strength in a painting, it always needs some sort of something to hold it this way. This way we lie down, and this also gives us the movement we require. Another very simple composition. It's got finer work in it, and you can see through the colours into mauve and pink and red. So it's worked just as an overglaze, and I use a matte varnish on all of the paintings. Now, what I'm using here is just a canvas sheet paper. It comes in pads of about 24. You don't have to paint big. Take your time, and it's going to save you a lot of money, because paint costs money, canvases cost money. And art, there's no rule. Abstract art doesn't have to be as big as a gallery. It can be small little paintings that also work. And to be quite honest, if you can get control over a smaller area, you're going to find going bigger much easier. Okay. So here again, very simple one, same sort of technique, rollers, and this one's got a little, if you can see it there, it's like a little silver streak going up the middle of it. It's exciting. There's so many, zellen has all the metallic range of colours. So you can get gold, bronze, silver. You can also get a luminous white, like a pearl white that just tinkles. It's not white. There's the gold I've used there, for instance. And that's just for shock value. I don't know if you can see it from this angle, but that's just a little bit of fun. Just trying to get movement and applying the paint a lot thicker. This area is a lot thicker. And also getting sort of not too many colours in the painting. So that was that lesson. Here, just having fun, just looks silly. These three are part of a triptych, so I can't put them up for you. And sometimes, during the process of all of this technique building, this is this almost has got quite a lot of techniques in it, so I was obviously trying all my techniques out. And some of these movements here in this painting here, I don't know if you can see it from where you are, but that pink underneath there, I scratch those areas out because I have got layers of paint to work. So when you're working wet on wet, which is important in this particular type of painting, you can still scratch and pull and affect things. And use your spritzer all the time. Just keep a soft wet covering over the painting so that it moves. When you want to integrate it, it moves. The paint still moves. Here's an example of wet. That's wet with just a dirty brush, but done determinately. And then just a few Japanese calligraphic marks with some throws and pulls. And these were all thought about. They weren't just, oh, I'll throw something as I walk away. You look at it and you think, oh, well, the petal of a flower could possibly be there, and it'll help my graphic. The whole composition needs that line. Give it to it. And same with that side. So simplicity is also, less is more. I suffer from doing more, so I'm the last one to tell you to do that. But that's another one. Not every painting you do is a success when you're an artist. You could paint 100, and I think you're damn lucky if you get 2 or 3 beauties. That's what art's about. Because you're an abstract artist, and you're not just a photographer repeating the same thing print for print, you need to change. Everyone's different, and therefore you're going to have lots of failures. Again, just a fun one, a planet kind of one. We are simply 3 colours drifting across with their and a little bit of secondary and all complementary colours being used here too. And the yellow pops off the blue very nicely there. So you're looking for little aspects all the time when you're building the painting. So here I started off being very abstract with a scraper. And then these sort of half characters appeared, and I didn't want to over-stress them. So I just pulled them together with this gold line, almost like icon type technique. The rest of the colours are just easy, and you'll see the gold does actually shine quite a lot. Okay, and this one just also seems to be a lot of fun. I don't even know. That's another thing, you never know. Oh, this could go that way. You never know. Yes, you see there's a girl's face, maybe, an angel. Here she's flying, and there she goes. So this is all single work done with the applicator, just put straight on the canvas and left. Don't touch. You can, if it needs it, you do it, but generally speaking, trust yourself. So with the word trust yourself, I hope you all have a good painting time. Enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you next lesson. Okay, bye.